No one ever discussed the sounds of explosions at tea. So it was that on that January morning, just after dawn, the air brisk and cold with the night that had not yet burned away, Imogen was at the site of an explosion. It was important to note that Imogen had nothing to do with the explosion in question. She did not know the sound it had made in the key moment, could only guess that it had been something of a thunder, considering that she was certain that the building had made a great noise when it collapsed to the ground. There was no particular explosive smell. Anything unique that might have lingered had been smothered by the acrid smoke of the fire the blasting oil had caused when it had been ignited, and the cloud of dust that had come from the building, now reduced to rubble. 12 hours earlier, the building had housed O'Dwyer and Leaf's, a seamstress shop tucked between a pub and a pie shop in Spitalfields, on a bustling little strip of East London that should not have thrived but for the popularity of this particular shop and its skillful proprietresses, which attracted a constant stream of women. The loss of the establishment would be a loss to the businesses that had grown up around it. The building could not be salvaged. Relocation was the only option. A sad state of affairs indeed, though not one that should rate the attention of anyone but those in the nearest vicinity. It most certainly should not rate the attention of an aristocratic lady, even less the attention of 4 of them. But this wasn't just any building, and these were not just any ladies. And so, in the heavy grey of the London morning, made heavier by the threat of icy rain and the particular silence of a building that had been razed to the ground, Imogen and 3 others stood amidst piles of rubble in the now hollowed-out space, open to the street and sky, between the Hollow Drum and Mrs. Twizzleton's savoury pie shop. The quartet was at once wildly out of place and entirely in control. They were the Hells Bells, whispered about in ballrooms and barrooms throughout London. A team of women. Were there 4? 40. At times it seemed there were 4,000. Who had made a name for themselves by bringing down the worst of the corrupt world, when too often those in power refused to do the same. Few knew the identity of even a single member of the gang, let alone the identities of the 4 who founded the crew. After all, when it came to women, people rarely paid attention. And the Hells Bells, who'd been delighted to be christened as such by London's gossip rags, quoting unnamed sources at Scotland Yard, were very happy to take advantage of that lack of attention and hide in plain sight. If one were looking, one might find the foursome together in Mayfair ballrooms and Kensington dining rooms and shops on Bond Street, where money and power and high fashion made for a certain kind of invisibility. They were just as commonplace in Covent Garden, where a good cloak and a better coachman could easily keep the identity of a woman hidden. But clad in brightly coloured silks and satins and freshly pressed cloaks, mucking about in the grey morning soot of the East End, that was a different thing altogether. Ladies did not go to the East End. Then again, it was not every day a business bankrolled by a wealthy duchess, 2 wealthy duchesses, and the daughters of 2 equally wealthy earls was blown to bits. And so, well, needs must. Needs, in this case, meant that Lady Imogen, lover of all things explosive, skilled explosive expert in her own right, was there to investigate. The smell, the sounds, the unique pattern of the blast. She crouched in the rubble, considering the fierce fingers of black soot across what had once been the space behind the ribbon counter, which was now blown to bits, disintegrated beneath the strength of the blast. Looking up, Imogen considered the partially collapsed brick wall behind her, where the mirror that had once separated the front of the shop from its rear rooms had been blown out and destroyed by the heat. Above, the wooden floors had been incinerated, leaving only the shell of the staircase between the ground floor shop and the sky.